Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula has released a preliminary report from the Railway Safety Regulator on the passenger train and tamping machine collision that left scores of people injured at the weekend. For more on this story, we cross to our reporter, Patricia Visagie, standing by for us. Good afternoon, Patricia.
Good afternoon. Certainly, rail safety again under the spotlight as that preliminary report into Saturday evening's train accident, of course, is released here in Pretoria. Now, just a little bit of background. It was an accident that occurred between one of the new passenger trains and what is called a tamping machine. Now, it is a Transnet tamping machine, and with our understanding, that machine was on its way for maintenance in Palabora. It malfunctioned. Of course, it seems like its brakes had given in at the time. It rolled back and it crashed into the train, leaving several people injured. At the time, I think the number stood at 57 people who were injured. Of course, 14 of them rushed to the Steve Biko Hospital with what seemed as serious injuries. But, of course, now it's time for action, and the minister says that it's time to actually, do a holistic probe into the safety of trains. You would know that millions of South Africans are dependent on these trains, so it is paramount to make sure that they do enjoy the dignity of safety. So let's speak to Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula. Minister, behind you, the train that is making headlines now, and you saying that more needs to be done. We've had enough time to issue reports and investigations. We now need to get to a point where people are held accountable, and these trains are actually giving commuters the safe dignity of transport that they deserve.
We have acted swiftly, first to ensure that within 48 hours we are able to produce the preliminary report to establish exactly as to what happened. It is a tamping machine, and that within the next 3 months we'll be able to produce a comprehensive report and with recommendations. So that work is being undertaken by PRASA and RS in terms of the work that needs to be done and as it is expected. So action has actually been taken swiftly, and the commuters who were injured all have been released except one train driver, and all of them have been released with bruises and all of that, and they've actually been taken care of as we speak in relation to trauma, counseling and so on, and all other aspects that are involved. But it doesn't end there. If there is negligence, there needs to be consequence management that needs to be undertaken. And so that is going to happen, most definitely. Only this past year or period, 2% of these have occurred. 1,027 incidences of this nature have happened. All sorts of reports point to issues of signal and so on that need to be installed. We live in a digital space, industrial revolution. You can't drive trains without support of digital support in terms of proper signaling and so on to avoid accidents and so on and so on. But should there be negligence out of this, there's got to be action that needs to be taken. But it will be informed by the report when it comes in the next 3 months.
But we're now focusing on this train only, this particular train accident. But the approach that you want to undertake moving from now is to ensure that that culture of accountability and rail safety is holistically approached. It should not just end with this particular matter. You want to change the culture within transport and to ensure that that dignity is restored.
Overall, safety in rail, on the roads, all around, is a priority for this department. And road fatalities are a calamity for this nation. So that needs to be addressed. And by next week, Tuesday, I will tell you, in the next 400 days, what steps am I going to take as a minister to try to mitigate and to, at the same time, bring it to a halt all around in the Republic of South Africa. May it be drink and driving, may it be recklessness in the trains, may it be lack of, infrastructure to avert such within rail. We're going to deal with that. We can't afford it, but now it's time to walk the talk. There's no time to waste time. Next 400 days will not be the same with regard to the Department of Transport.
You're not the first minister who comes in with so much vigor, so much confidence that things will be changed for the better and South Africans will be prioritized, in particular their safety within the transport sector. And we hardly see that change really bringing the confidence that we're hoping for. Which different strategy do you hope to follow that can actually, not just end in lip service, but actual action that people can be proud of?
I will unveil that next week, Tuesday. And that strategy is going to be concrete, is going to be enforced by the law. We need to tighten the law, but it's also going to be enforced by personnel and administrative mechanisms that we put in place. Our boards are in a total state of calamity. They are non-existent. They are not focused on the task of what they are supposed to perform. Government has given Prasad over 27 billion or plus or minus to fix things. That money is not well spent. It actually been rolled over, most of it. There is no board, there is no management. That must change, is going to change. And that's what needs to happen. And in this particular instance, you can't be giving money to entities and then you don't get the results. And then you don't hold people accountable. Monitoring, holding people accountable, because our department has been hollowed. We've got many entities everywhere that we give them money to go and perform certain functions, and they don't do that. And we don't see the results. They will be measured, they will be monitored, there will be consequences that must actually be undertaken so that there is change in the environment in terms of ensuring that we keep our people safe, but means of mass transport talk to each other. And at the same time, they are available for our people. And at the same time, our people feel safe and they can spend money and all of that and so on. And on transport that is safe for them.
Government's biggest mandate perhaps now is, reforming the economy, stimulating job creation, in particular for the youth. And we know that transport forms the backbone of any country's economy. How does that link on to that particular broader agenda?
We need to evaluate our strategies in terms of invigorating job creation within the transport industry. Does it work? To what extent have we gone to create jobs? Even here in the trains. I mean, if you talk about safety, who look after the passengers? Who undertake the mission to ensure that in the trains you don't have criminality and so on? How do we absorb those people within the train system, in the rail system, to ensure that there is safety among others? So there's a whole lot of job opportunities that we need to explore and undertake. And I'll get the report and see in the broader scale of job creation and stimulus, what contribution has the Department of the Department of Transport made in terms of job creation. So that's what we're going to undertake in the next 400 days, and undertake the mission of entrenching job creation, targeting the youth in this particular space. All
right, thank you so much. We'll have to leave it at that. Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula. Let's turn our attention now to PRASA CEO, Nkosinathi Sishe. One of the concerns that came out from the preliminary report is also that there was a signal failure. Rather, the signal has not been working for the past 2 years. And you just highlighted that this is actually a national problem. Just take us through that. And what will now be done to address this issue?
Firstly, I think allow me to send our word of sympathy with our commuters, who patronize us and who are loyal to the service that we are providing. And we hope that all of those who have been treated are recovering and they are back to their normal daily operations. As PRASA will take responsibility for ensuring that they are looked after in terms of the law as it applies to us and our responsibility. Indeed, the question is about signaling. Signaling is important as we are trying to renew our infrastructure, as we are putting in place new machines like the one that has been involved in this accident. It's going to be incumbent on us to ensure that we speed up the process of ensuring that throughout the network of rail in the Republic of South Africa, there is proper signaling systems that are in place. A lot of work is done, almost done with Gauteng, half the way with the Western Cape we've done with the Southern Line, halfway with the Central Line in the Western Cape. KwaZulu-Natal, we're picking up a lot of problems there, but we are focused on ensuring that that signaling program continues so that we reduce the number of manual operations that as a result of failure of signaling.
Now, the signal on the Mamelodi line where this particular accident occurred, 2 years without it being working. Why is that? How is it possible that that signal that's actually supposed to be the backbone of safety on that line was not working? Because if you look at it, perhaps one would have seen the tamping machine rolling back in time had that signal worked.
Absolutely. I think we have to work with our communities where our rail network traversed the length and breadth of our country, and therefore we need to have a compact with communities in all the areas where our network works. The reason for the 2 years issue is theft. There is no other. We've installed signaling. It got undermined by syndicates that do this. Our police have been cooperating with us, and they've done a wonderful job. There are people already that are held to account in this regard.
So lack of security, perhaps inside job is still a huge problem.
Security is going to have to be our priority. I think all the comments that we've received from our communities and everyone who's part of our stakeholders, including the Board of Control of PRASA, have made it clear that the whole security needs to be prioritized. You all be aware that what we have done so far is to cancel all irregular contracts that have been there at PRASA before, and we've advertised for contracts for security that are now going to take us forward, and now we are moving into a new era that is without the irregularities and poor corporate governance that has characterized this entity over many years.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much there, PRASA CEO Nkosinathi Sishe, just talking about some of the challenges that PRASA still encounter that actually compromise rail safety and lead to such of accidents that we have seen. You see the train that was, of course, involved with the crash with that tamping machine at the Eerste Fabrieke line in Mamelodi on Saturday. But Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula, very confident that he is here to shake up things, saying that he is giving himself 400 days and he would have reformed and restored dignity in rail transport, but transport as a collective in the country. Whether that will happen or not, we'll have to wait and see what he has in store. A press briefing will be held next week, Tuesday, where he will give his holistic plan. For now, let's give it back to you in studio.
Thanks very much for that, Patricia. We're going to go for a quick